Okay guys, we're going back together. We've got the valve assembly, rack assembly back in there. Okay, we just got to put the pitman, or I guess it's the sector arm shaft back in. Okay, let me set you up over here. I'll show you where we left off. Okay, apologies guys, I totally forgot to film this. I just got carried away putting everything back together. But changing out these seals on the valve assembly, spool valve, was extremely difficult. You can see they have a special tool for guiding these seals on, and then they also have a compression tool for compressing the seals once they're back on. Okay, so we had to improvise a little bit. So here's the old seal rings, okay? So what I had to do, because these things are so tight, there's no way you can stretch them over or work them over with a tool like most O-rings and such. So what I ended up doing, this was just dumb luck. So you need to have a sleeve that you can slide over the piston assembly, okay? And this was absolutely perfect. It's just a pill bottle, okay, and it just happened to be the right diameter, slid right over, 1.5 ID, okay, and I just cut the bottom out and cleaned off all the burrs so it would slide over the shaft, okay. So I started with that, and I greased this up so that the seal rings would slide easier. But just trying to get this onto the end of our sleeve here, that was a major issue. These things, they'll stretch, but it's hard to stretch them. If you had 3 hands or a helper, you might be able to work it over that. But what I ended up doing, I took an old vacuum cleaner extension wand, and this is tapered. It's perfect. It was actually longer. I cut it off at the right diameter, and I put this in the lathe and just cut a little groove in here so that it would line up and kind of fit in the bottom of that, right? So then I would, one by one, I would load these. I'd slip them down, and actually had my wife helping, because it still was not easy. Just that little groove there, just to get past. It took a couple pairs of hands. But I would get it onto here, right? And then I would take this and slide it, spool valve assembly, do the last one first, and I would line it up with the groove and then slip the ring off and into the groove, okay? And I just repeated that 4 times. That worked outstanding. It was just awesome. Okay, but the next thing that happens is these, when you do that, you're stretching these, and you have to stretch them. There's no way they're gonna go on without stretching them. But then they don't shrink back down right away. It takes time, and you got to coax them a little bit. And they actually have a tool. They call it a sizing tool, okay? And all it is just a sleeve to help compress those guys back on, okay? So I just took it's actually a sriracha bottle. I found a plastic bottle that was nice and smooth, and with this, several hose clamps, using the bottle as a sleeve. There you go. And then a little protector here, so this overlaps slightly, and then the thicker part I put underneath the hose clamp body. And then I just took my time cinching it down and reposition. I'd give it a few hours, reposition, cinch it again, and I did that over the course of a couple evenings, okay, and those rings shrank back down nicely, okay, and of course after that, lubed everything up with I used the super lube, the silicone grease, and went into the bore just perfect, and it has just the right amount of drag. Really happy with that, okay. The other one on the large O-ring, you can actually get that one on pretty easy, but there's an O-ring underneath, and then the Teflon seal ring. But you still need to compress it. So I did the same thing. I just made a little protector out of the same sriracha bottle and the hose clamp, and just did that overnight and repositioned it a couple of times just so the pressure would wasn't always in one spot, and that worked out great. Went right in the bore. Okay, anyway, sorry I missed filming that, but that worked out really good. But man, what a job getting those in there.
No more bags and popcorn.
All right, my supervisor caught me making a mistake, so good thing he was checking my work, my grandson. So much easier to put this bearing cap on now before dropping it in. So I went ahead and did that, and now we're going to get it dropped in. We've got the rack centered up, so it should just drop right in. I'm probably not going to film that because I need both hands. All right, Ethan, how tight do these bolts need to be?
1,000.
1,000. Okay. I think we'll go for maybe 65 foot-pounds. 1,000 or 2,000?
2,000.
2,000. Okay. Tell me when I'm there.
2,000.
2,000? Uh-oh, what happened?
I don't know. Maybe it's not supposed to go that tight. It's not supposed to go that tight.
That's it. Okay. That was actually 65 foot-pounds. All right, guys, I've been setting our preload on the sector gear shaft. So I got, this is really a hokey setup here, but I found a, what is that, 11/16 socket. Happens to fit the spline pretty good, okay? But it's a 3/8 socket, and I couldn't find my quarter drive to 3/8 drive adapter, so I'm using one of these funny ratchets that has a quarter on one end and a 3/8 on the other, and I found a socket that'll force onto there. All right, so we got our inch-pound set torque wrench, and we're set at, well, let's see what we're set at. I think we're at the 16 inch-pounds. Yeah, 16 inch-pounds, okay. Spec is 14 to 18 when you go over center. So let's see what happens here. Right now, yeah, I'm not sure which direction we got to go. Let's just go for it. Okay. Okay, so we're going over center right now. You saw the torque wrench just click. All right, there we are. I'm going to help it just a little bit. Actually, no, we're all the way to the other end. Okay, let's go back the other way. So we got new seals in here too, so we got a little extra drag. Okay, so we should be coming up on center here. Okay, right there. We tripped our torque wrench. I'm going to help it a little bit. Actually, no, we went all the way. Okay. All right. So let me back this off a little bit. Let's go 14 inch-pounds. And we'll go back the other direction. Okay, so we're going end to end without tripping the torque wrench. So I'm going to tighten this up just a little bit. I've been doing this for a while. Yeah. Okay, there's some backlash here. I'm going to just go just a little bit here. Let's try that. All right, I backed off just slightly and we're still set at 18. Okay, this did not trip. Okay. Go back the other direction. Okay, it's not tripping. I think we're going to leave it right there. Let me try it at 12 just to see if we can get it to trip. It's very touchy when you get close to the final setting. Okay, so it's tripping at 12. So we're somewhere in between there. We're going to call that good. I'd rather be a little bit on the light side than have it over tightened. Yeah, okay. It just barely tripped going over center that time. Yeah. Alrighty, so now we're going to put the nut on. I'm going to put some sealer on here because this is under pressure. So we're going to put some sealer, put the nut on. We're going to make sure that that doesn't turn when we tighten it up, and then we're ready for painting. I went ahead and we got it painted. We put on our rag joint and we put sealer on our locking backlash preload adjustment here. This is under pressure, so you want to put a little bit of I just used Permatex 300. Just put some under the nut and a little bit on the threads. And tell you what, guys, getting that set, that preload backlash adjustment set, was probably one of the more challenging parts of the project. It was not as easy as you would think. In fact, I ended up backing off just a little bit more after I got everything assembled and the sealer on there. So it still felt too tight, so I backed off a little bit more. We can always tighten it up. I'd rather not have it too tight and cause mechanical stresses. Okay, our rag joint, we had pre-marked it when we took it apart, and I had put a punch mark down inside there's a hollow area where the bolt for the pinch bolt clearance area, and I had put a punch mark that lined up where the coupler was located with in respect to the split. So pretty sure got it back in the right spot, and that's adjustable once we get it in the vehicle. But this is for centering your steering wheel. Okay, we're not going to put the pitman arm on until we get the box back in. All right, and we got it cleaned up, painted up, and I don't know if you can see, but I got a couple of dimple marks here where I had marked both the shaft and the pitman arm before disassembling. And this can only go, there's some keys in here. I don't know if you can see this. These splines are wider, so it can only go on one of 4 ways. So it's pretty easy to get it right as long as you have a little something to go by. So, okay, so that's that. All right, as part of this repair, we're going to be replacing our drag link and our tie rod. You can't just change the ends. I mean, for obvious reasons here, you got to buy the whole thing. They only use one regular tie rod end, which goes over here. There's just a protector on there right now. So this is going to affect alignment. Only the toe in, which is our main tie rod here, and what I'm going to do, toe end's not that hard to set. I've done it many times, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the old one as one assembly and carefully measure from center to center. I'm going to use the grease fittings because I think it's the most accurate way to get a measurement. Measure from the center of this grease fitting and all the way down to wherever the center of the other grease fitting happens to be, and measure twice, record that number, and then when I assemble this, I'll just put it back to the same number. It should be fine. Yeah, on these straight axle 4-wheel drive trucks, there's not much to adjust on alignment. Most of the settings are fixed, and we didn't mess with any of those, so we don't have to worry about that. So the only other thing is just getting the steering wheel centered. Alright, we need an O-ring groove. So we're set up here. I'll try to film this. I don't have a good spot to set the camera up, but I'll do what I can. Okay, set our dial here. Oh yeah. Let's try a little WD on there. Let's slow her down a bit. Oh yeah. Alright, let's check our depth. Okay, we need some more. Alright, there's our workpiece. Yeah, we had a little bit of chatter. That's alright for what we're going to use this for. It's going to be fine. We had to do a little fine tuning on the O-ring groove. But I think it's going to be okay. There we go. And it only needs to seal just a few pounds of pressure, or vacuum in this case. Alright, we're going to try vacuum bleeding the power steering system here, mainly the steering box. So we've got our homemade adapter here. Get that installed. Oh, and by the way, the level, it's a little bit below full. I'm thinking this is going to maybe foam up a bit, so I don't want to put too much in right away. Okay, on with our custom adapter. It's a nice fit. Keeping the hose on kind of on the upper side. Okay, then we've got I got kind of a long hose here, but we can shorten it if we need to. And then we got our homemade little separator bottle here. Okay, let's get our vacuum source. We've got our separator bottle. We've got an old set of refrigeration gauges, just using one side because it has a compound vacuum reading gauge there. And an old leaky beat up vacuum pump. Okay, so let's try this. Pull a little bit of vacuum. We're just going to go a little at a time here. Okay. Let me get ahead of ourselves here. Okay, so we got a little vacuum on there. Nothing happening here. Okay, so we're just gonna, let's just give it a little bit more. Alright, I'm just going to let this set for a bit. Alright guys, can you see that? So that was like 30 seconds of not even a deep vacuum, like 12 inches of vacuum. And we sucked in a whole bunch of fluid. And it practically went, well, almost dried up the reservoir. So we definitely had air in the system. All right, I'm going to add more fluid and we're going to do another session here. All right, this is going to be round 2. So we've added more fluid. Let's give her some vacuum. I don't want to go real deep because I don't know how strong that housing is. Okay, we're getting some fluid. So that means we definitely must be getting some bubbling happening in the reservoir. Okay, I just stopped. I stopped at 20 inches. We're just gonna let it stay there for a while and see what happens. We're still getting a solid stream of fluid. Yeah, I don't think you want to do this too fast. I think you want to give the air and fluid a chance to separate in the system. We've never done this before, so we're learning as we're going here. Our bottle's working. We're separating fluid and vacuum, or reduced atmosphere, I guess. Alright, we're just going to let this sit for a while. Alright, we released the vacuum after the second pass. The level did go down a little bit in the reservoir, not enough to add more, and it didn't go down more than what we transferred over here, so it went somewhere into the system. So let's give it another shot. Pretty interesting how the bubbles are perfectly spaced. Pretty cool. Alright, well, so good news, guys. The vacuum bleeding contraption did the job. So we got the air out of the steering system, and she's running great. We got normal steering now. Yeah, I was really worried that I was going to have to replace the box, but it seems to be okay. I mean, we still got a little bit of air. You can hear a little bit, you know, it's just going to take some driving. I know last time when I did the complete rebuild of the Bronco, it took almost a year to finally get the last little remnants of air out. So that'll probably be the same deal. All right, great. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. Thanks again for following along. Sorry we missed that footage of reassembling the inner spool assembly and such. We were just in get her done mode. All right. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe button if you can, and we will see you on the next video. Thanks again.